Imagine you wake up one morning, excited to hit the gym. You feel energized, ready to transform your life. But by day 3, you're already skipping workouts. Sounds familiar? Why is it so easy to start but so hard to stay consistent? Let's talk about how to force yourself to be consistent. Not with willpower, not with motivation, but with a system that works. Consistency is a choice, not a talent. Too many people believe consistency is something you either have or you don't. But the truth is, consistency is a choice made every single day. You don't brush your teeth only when you feel like it. You do it because it's part of your routine. Success works the same way. Small wins lead to big results. Most people quit because they want results now. But success isn't about huge leaps, it's about tiny steps repeated over time. Think about a writer. They don't finish a book in a day. They write one page, then another, and another. Small wins add up. Purpose fuels consistency. If you don't know why you're doing something, you'll never stick with it. Think of a new business owner. If their only goal is to make money, they'll quit when things get tough. But if they have a purpose, like making a real difference, they will push through even when they don't feel like it. Discipline over motivation. Motivation is like taking a shower. It feels great, but it doesn't last. Discipline, on the other hand, is brushing your teeth every day. It's not exciting, but it keeps you moving forward. NBA players don't train only when they feel inspired. They train because it's their job. Set systems, not just goals. Goals give you direction, but systems keep you on track. If your goal is to get fit, that's great, but if you don't schedule your workouts, plan your meals, and track your progress, you'll never stick with it. Make consistency automatic by setting clear systems. Embrace the process, not just the outcome. Most people fall in love with the idea of success, but hate the process. But the process is what creates success. A musician doesn't become great by dreaming of fame. They become great by practicing, even on days they don't feel like it. If you love the process, the results will come. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, especially on the days you don't want to. Because in the end, success doesn't go to the most talented or the smartest. It goes to the ones who refuse to stop. Now go, show up, be consistent. Your future self will thank you. A consistency is not a talent. It's not something you're born with. It's a choice. One that you make every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning debating whether you should brush today or not. You don't wait for motivation to kick in before picking up your toothbrush. You just do it. Why? Because it's a habit. You've trained yourself to do it automatically. Now imagine if you applied that same principle to the things that matter most in your life. Your health, your career, your relationships. Too many people think that successful individuals have some special ability that allows them to stay consistent. They believe that athletes, entrepreneurs, or artists have an innate discipline that ordinary people don't. But if you ask any successful person, they'll tell you the same thing. There are plenty of days they don't feel like showing up. The difference is they do it anyway. They understand that consistency is a choice, not a feeling. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling. Before she became one of the most successful authors of all time, she was a struggling single mother, barely making ends meet. She didn't write the Harry Potter series because she felt inspired every single day. She wrote because she made a choice to keep going, even when rejection letters piled up. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. She created it by showing up consistently. Let's take another example. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. People see him as this larger-than-life figure, always motivated, always pushing forward, but he often talks about how there are mornings he doesn't feel like getting out of bed to train. Yet, he does it anyway. Not because he's superhuman, but because he has trained himself to choose consistency over feelings. The problem most people face is that they rely too much on motivation. Motivation is a great spark, but it's unreliable. Some days you'll feel fired up and other days you won't. And if you only act when you feel motivated, you'll never get anywhere. Consistency, on the other hand, is a decision. It's waking up and saying, I'm gonna do what needs to be done, whether I feel like it or not. Think of it like planting a tree. You don't water it once and expect it to grow overnight. You water it every day, even when you don't see immediate results. Over time, those small, consistent actions compound into something massive. That's how success works. So the next time you think about skipping that workout, putting off that project, or postponing that dream, remember, consistency isn't about talent. It's about choosing to show up day after day, no matter what. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because in the end, success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the ones who simply refuse to quit. Most people give up on their goals not because they lack ability, but because they expect results too quickly. They start with enthusiasm, put in effort for a few days or weeks, and when they don't see immediate change, they quit. But success doesn't work like that. It's not about taking one giant leap. It's about taking small, consistent steps over and over again. Think about how a house is built. You don't wake up one day and see a finished mansion appear out of nowhere. It starts with laying a single brick, then another, then another. Over time, those small actions add up to something significant. The same applies to every area of life. A person doesn't become fit by working out intensely for 1 week. They become fit by exercising regularly, even on days when they don't feel like it. Consider the story of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. He talks about how small improvements, just 1% better every day, lead to massive transformations over time. If you improve by just 1% daily, by the end of a year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. But most people don't see that. They focus on the lack of instant results and abandon the process before they've given it a chance to work. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine two people decide to get in shape. The first person goes to the gym every day, but after a week of hard workouts, they don't see much difference in the mirror, so they quit. The second person doesn't worry about quick results. They show up consistently, focusing on small progress. One more push-up, one extra lap, one healthier meal choice. Months later, they've built a habit, and the results speak for themselves. Or think about learning a new skill, like playing the guitar. If you expect to master it in a week, you'll get frustrated and quit. But if you practice a little every day, just 10 or 15 minutes, over months and years, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. The key isn't speed, it's persistence. The reason small wins matter so much is because they create momentum. When you see even the tiniest improvement, it reinforces your belief that what you're doing is working. This belief fuels more action, leading to even greater progress. It's a cycle, and it starts with those small victories. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence or talent, it's patience. Those who succeed understand that greatness isn't built in a day. They commit to small daily actions that compound over time. So the next time you feel discouraged because you're not seeing results fast enough, remind yourself the small things you do today may not seem like much, but over time they will add up to something extraordinary. Success isn't about one massive breakthrough. It's about stacking small wins day after day until they turn into something remarkable. If you don't know why you're doing something, staying consistent will always feel like a battle. People often struggle with discipline not because they're lazy or incapable, but because they lack a clear purpose. When you have a strong enough reason, the effort becomes easier. The most disciplined people in the world aren't the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones with the deepest sense of purpose. Take an athlete training for the Olympics. Waking up at 5 a.m., training for hours, and pushing through pain isn't easy, but they do it because they have a bigger reason driving them. The dream of standing on that podium, representing their country, and proving to themselves that their sacrifices were worth it. Without that purpose, the training would feel unbearable. This is why so many New Year's resolutions fail. People say they want to lose weight, start a business, or read more books, but they don't connect those goals to something meaningful. They might start strong, but when motivation fades, so does their commitment. The ones who succeed aren't just chasing a goal, they're pursuing something deeper. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, they say, I want to be healthy so I can play with my kids without getting exhausted. Instead of saying, I want to make more money, they say, I want to create financial security so my family never has to struggle. Purpose creates resilience. Think about someone starting a business. If their only motivation is to make money, they'll quit as soon as they hit a rough patch. But if they're building something because they believe in it, because they genuinely want to change lives, they'll push through setbacks, rejections, and failures. Steve Jobs didn't just want to sell computers, he wanted to change the way people interacted with technology. That vision fueled his consistency even when Apple was on the brink of collapse. A real-life example of this can be seen in Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, a book based on his experiences surviving Nazi concentration camps. Frankl observed that those who survived the unimaginable horrors weren't necessarily the strongest physically, but the ones who had a purpose, something to live for beyond the suffering. His famous quote sums it up perfectly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The same principle applies to anything in life. If you're struggling to be consistent, ask yourself, why does this matter to me? Why am I doing this? If your reason isn't compelling enough, you'll always find excuses to quit. But when your purpose is strong, quitting isn't an option. Every time you feel like giving up, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Success isn't about who works the hardest or has the most talent. It's about who stays committed when things get tough. And the only way to stay committed is to have a reason that's stronger than any excuse. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, especially on the days you don't want to. Because in the end, success doesn't go to the most talented or the smartest. It goes to the ones who refuse to stop. So ask yourself, will you be the person who waits for the perfect moment? Or will you be the one who decides that today is the day? The choice is yours. The results, they belong to those who take action. Now go, show up, be consistent. Your future self is counting on you.